Nothing makes the lords a leap and the ladies dance like the regal mute swan. But royal veneration and beautiful snow-white feathers don't change the fact that they are wild animals, ready to defend the small piece of pond they've carved out for themselves. Even though they are the picture of nature's beauty, a swan still needs to guard the lake with ferocity in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of this theme song, of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on. If you would like to donate, just visit patreon.com/ldtaxonomy or click on donate on our website.
And today we're talking about a bird that makes a great gift if you can get them a swimming. But more on that later.
That song gets more ridiculous with each passing year as an adult. It's mostly slaves and waterfowl. Those are the gifts.
Yeah. Do you like birds and vocations?
Do you like employees and poultry? Poultry in motion. But yeah, I guess that ties it into this season. I was thinking this was going to be more of a Valentine's Day thing, and once again we were missing the mark, not being topical. But that's par for the course for us. But you know, those swans are swimming.
It would be a good Valentine's Day.
Because it's a swan. We're talking about the mute swan.
Mm-hmm.
Which we're going to call here Silent Love. And the swan tag, I spelled it out, but I didn't read it. Swantagonist. Swantagonist. It doesn't sound as good when it looks great typed out on my notes. Looks like a perfect portmanteau of swan and antagonist. But when said, it doesn't really work. And then the last nickname is My Only Swan. You're my only swan.
Good.
But yeah, let's taxonomize this while we're here. I mean,
okay.
Might as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in the kingdom you know, love, and are in. That kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Chordata. It has a bird spine. The class is Aves, because it's a bird. The order is Anseriformes. The family, Anatidae. That is swans, ducks, and geese. And the genus is Cygnus. And the species, Olor. Olor, Frodo. So the binomial nomenclature is Cygnus Olor. All right. I instinctively did nitty-gritty nomenclature, despite the fact we're doing a bird. And birds have great collective nouns.
Wow.
But if we do a swan some other time, we will have a collective noun for it. But for this one, we're going to do nitty-gritty nomenclature, which is the listener's favorite part of the show. This is the part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is, what is the English translation of the binomial nomenclature, which in this case is Cygnus Olor. Olor. When I Swanson wonder. So Cygnus Olor, what does that mean in English? Does that mean A, Smelly Swan. B. Golden Royalty. C. Mute Bird. Or D. Round Odor. Smelly Swan, Golden Royalty, Mute Bird, Round Odor.
Golden Royalty, final answer.
Thought that might get you. That is incorrect. The answer is Smelly Swan. Cygnus is swan. And then olor comes from the root for olfactory. So it's like a smell.
Cygnus is swan.
Isn't that cool? I mean, it's a cool word for something that is just a swan, but
the term of veneration should be an orchestra.
it is not. But if we ever do a swan again, I have that up my sleeve. We'll find out.
So the name for a baby swan is a signet. So is a signet ring a swan ring?
A swan just taped to your knuckle. It's a baby swan.
It's spelled differently. I'm pretty sure signet ring is
it's just
sign
stamp
ET.
papers.
And signet swans are CYG.
Those 1910 times were scary. Let's talk about what this mute swan looks like. It is what I picture a swan to be in my head. When you say, what does a swan look like? Boom, this is it. It is like it's a very large duck-shaped animal with a really long, graceful neck that curves, pristine white feathers, very fluffy body. Has a black face mask that extends from the eyes all the way to the beak, but the beak itself, with the bill, is bright orange with a black knob on top. So this is just like quintessential, I almost said goose, swan. And it has webbed feet for paddling in the water, like a boat. But, like I said, it's much bigger than a duck. It's bigger than a goose. It's one of the biggest waterfowl there are. So, how big is it?
It's a great question. Welcome to the beloved Measure Up segment, the official listeners part of the show. It's also the part of the show that when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. Saying, singing, or trumpeting. We don't have a new measure up intro this week, but that means we get to hear from a swan. Carlos has to guess what it is. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part. The listener's part of the show. Do you know what that is?
Is that from the Swan Princess?
It sure is.
I've mentioned the animal we were doing to Bibby today. She's like, "Oh, you should talk about the Swan Princess." I was like, I've never seen it. I know that it's a thing. I know nothing about it. And she explained the overall plot to me. So now I'm like part of the culture. I'm like one with the people. I know now, kind of. So
the frog from that Louisiana movie, Disney movie, the Princess and the Frog.
Princess and the Frog, yeah.
The frog from it is in the Swan Princess.
Yeah, but that one's not a Disney movie. The Swan Princess.
But it's the same frog design.
It's the Swan Prince. It's an animal and royalty. The Frog Princess and the Swan, the Princess and the Frog, and the Swan Princess. I watched The Frog Prince, which was a movie from like the '60s, with this like horrifying makeup they put on this guy, this guy who just got general like frog makeup on and is just like living in this girl's house. But he's, a frog.
I typed in Swan Princess Frog, and there's multiple images putting them side by side and saying that they're doppelgangers.
Yeah. I guess I should have assumed that it was a musical. It sounded very Disney.
Mm-hmm. It looks Disney. It looks like a mix between Disney and Don Bluth. Which makes sense because Don Bluth used to work for Disney.
He left his sketch on the company.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about their wingspan. 200 to 240 centimeters, or 79 to 94 inches. What's that in feet? What's that in, like, things I can picture?
You can't picture an inch?
It's funny how, I can't picture 94 inches.
7.8 feet.
That's
a big boy. That's up there with albatross. Not quite, but...
The mute swan is the same. Has their wingspan is the same length as A. 5 B sharp B minor. What's it?
5 golden rings.
What is it? B, and then a small B. Trumpets.
B flat.
Capital B, lowercase b.
B
flat trumpets. B. 1.5 trombones. Or C, 9 piccolos.
Trombone extended?
Trombone regular style.
I'm going to play this trombone regular style. I'm not going to extend the, I don't know. I actually don't know what it's called. The thing that makes it make different sounds.
When I looked up the lengths of these instruments, like the trombone and the trumpet, they were like, here's what it is coiled, and here's what it is uncoiled.
That must
and I was
be
like, what do you mean
uncoiled?
Means? An uncoiled trumpet is not a trumpet. It's a piece of brass. It's a long tube of brass.
It's one of those like medieval trumpets that's like 7 feet long and has a flag hanging down from it.
That's it.
Still makes the trumpet sound, but can only make one sound. You sound it like before Israel goes to war or something like that. Mm-hmm. So this is coiled, I assume.
Yeah.
5 trumpets, 1.5 trombones, or 9 piccolos. 7.8 feet. I don't think it's the trombones. I go trumpets. 5 trumpets. Final answer.
The correct answer is A, 5 trumpets.
Yes.
They are
5 B flat trumpets. 7 swans
right?
a swimming.
Did I get that right?
I don't know.
Well, it's one of these.
It's not wrong. Let's move on to the weight.
This said a trumpet is 4 feet and 10 inches. That's not right.
That's not correct. Maybe uncoiled.
Let's talk weight. Males are larger than females, at 9.2 to 14.3 kilograms. That is 20 to 32 pounds. They are the same weight as 4 British short-haired cats. Or B, 2.1 Mona Lisas. Or C, 6.4 St. Edward's crowns.
Is it an actual crown, or is that a word for something else?
St. Edward's actual crown.
Okay.
St. Edward's crowns. Let me look at that. It's one of the crown jewels.
St. Edward's crown sounds like something like like a tasty treat you might find also.
St. Edward's crown was made specially for
Saint Edward.
no.
How is that even possible?
Charles II in 1661. With
that
the
doesn't
frame.
seem right.
The frame and the painting.
I'm pretty sure the painting is small. I've never actually seen it, but everyone says that it's smaller than you think. And I don't think a painting, even with the frame, unless the frame is like copper, brass or something, that it would weigh 15 or close to 15 pounds. It seems like a lot. So we're going to go with cats. We're going to go with the Jellicle variety. The Jellicle answer, I guess.
What an incredibly overrated painting this is.
No, its eyes follow you.
It's just looking straight at the viewer.
It is
anyone.
It isn't. It is. I agree that it's a very overrated painting, but it is so much better than that chair that Van Gogh painted, or the sunflowers that he painted.
He could have worked a little harder to get the proportions right. That's what I think. You said
Da Vinci or Van Gogh?
The Van Gogh.
Leonardo Van Gogh.
Did you say A, British short-haired cats?
Cats, yes. I saw it's a Jellicle answer.
The real correct answer is C, 6.4 St. Edward's crowns.
I should have known it wasn't going to be A twice. A squared.
The Mona Lisa, it's actually few. The correct answer would have been like 1 point. It's like 18 pounds, the Mona Lisa.
Whoa. Wow, what do they make that frame out of?
I don't know.
That's back when they used lead paint, that's for sure. They didn't have to sign a lead paint disclosure in 1590.
They sure didn't. They was encouraged to eat. It cured bad humors.
Yeah, that and it would cure the miasma.
Mm-hmm. Melancholia. That's all I got. Do you have any fast facts before we get into the major fact?
I do. The mute swan is native to Europe, but it's found also throughout North America. It loves freshwater lakes, ponds, rivers, but will settle for any body of water that gives it enough space to be fabulous. It is herbivorous. It eats aquatic vegetation, and they can live for up to 15 years in the wild and even longer in captivity. They're highly social. And despite being called mute, they are not mute. They are just less vocal than other swans, like the trumpeting swan and the whooping swan. When that is your competition, or when that's what you're held up against, you could just sing Green Day songs all day and you would still be technically the mute one. It's like, oh, I'm the quiet one of my family when the rest of your family is like boisterous. They do make a variety of grunts, snorts, and whistles. And adults are really big, as we just mentioned. They have wingspans of almost 8 feet, and they're 30 pounds. So even the average dog is smaller. So most predators, they're too big for most predators. However, their eggs and their cygnets, they're little swanlings. Why not swanlings? Ducklings, goslings, swanlings. It was right there, but I guess cygnets is fine. I guess
I like cygnet. Well, everything is kind of just a little bit more regal when it comes to swans.
Yeah. Call their eggs something else. Call their eggs the crown jewels. Their eggs and younglings are at risk from foxes, raccoons, snapping turtles, and Anakin Skywalker. So that's all I got.
Okay, well, I'm calling this major fact the Song of Dissent.
The Swan song?
The Swan Song?
The Swan song of Dissent.
Yeah. Mute swans are extremely territorial, especially during the breeding season. They establish and vigorously defend their nesting territories from intruders, which can include other swans, ducks, and even humans. And it sounds like most of the things they attack do not know they're getting close to swans' territories. Like a duck doesn't care about swan eggs. Maybe they would. It's just funny that like they're just manhandling smaller birds. So in the nesting season, in the breeding season, which is in the spring, mute swans become highly protective of their nesting area. They will aggressively chase away any perceived threats. They'll hiss, flap their wings, and charge at intruders. And their powerful wings and strong beaks are what they use to fight. And their wings are so powerful that they can break a man's legs. That's false, by the way. That's an incorrect fact. Right. That's an internet rumor, though, that a mute swan can break a grown man's bones with their wings, which is not true. There's a video.
Did it knock him over and his leg broke? That sounds very probable.
Yeah, you could probably, like, an older man knock him down and break something. But there's a video of a guy who is trying to free a cygnet that is caught in a fence, and the mother, not knowing he's trying to help, is just battering this guy. And the guy is clearly not having a fun time. It probably hurts. But he is no worse for wear after he frees the baby and gets
I would definitely be more concerned with the pecking of the beak than
the wings. That could probably break the skin.
Yeah. I think I've said it before, but like there's a lot of Canadian geese around here and they're pretty aggressive. But I'm always like, if one of them charged me, I would win every time. What am I so afraid of? But swans are a lot bigger than Canadian geese. So 30 pounds of bird, that's a big bird.
And they can fly at like 30 miles per hour.
Yeah, so that could kill you.
Or no,
if they just kamikazed.
Yeah, they could probably bust you, knock you down, bust your head open.
Getting hit with 30 pounds at 30 miles an hour, that could kill you.
My aunt
It would kill the swan too, but
my aunt was driving and a duck came through the driver's side window. Smashed through and bruised her up.
Goodness. Recently?
No, this was years ago. But it was I drive on this stretch of road all the time because there's like a ton of Egyptian geese and Muscovy ducks on this canal on both sides of the road, and they like to cross the road flying from one body of water to the next. And I've seen them like cross the path while I'm driving along this road, and I think about that every time.
Just get T-boned by a duck.
That same aunt once hit a deer, and it like wrapped.
What does she have against the woodland critters?
It's what they have against her, you know.
Why is she intentionally swerving out of the way in order to create more roadkill?
Population control. So mute swans become more territorial when they form bonds. In fact, there are many unbonded young swans that will like stick together in flocks. but they'll usually form a strong pair bonds, and both male and females are involved in defending the territory. This strong partnership helps ensure the safety of their eggs and their cygnets, so they work together to protect the family. During courtship, mute swans perform a rhythmic song that synchronizes their heads and necks, which is funny. They have a song, even though they're mute. This song can distinguish a bonded pair from two swans that are merely courting, as the rhythm often fails to match the head movements of non-bonded pairs.
This is the Just Friends song.
Yeah. So like you can tell like you guys aren't bonded. You guys aren't married. You're just dating.
There's the Facebook official song.
Yeah, you're not in sync enough to be married.
That's funny.
They learn the dance. You must learn to join the dance. So mute swans typically hiss at intruders or competitors that are entering into their territory. The most characteristic sound of a mute swan is a vibrant throbbing of their wings in flight. So them flapping their wings, which is unique to the species and can be heard from 1 to 2 kilometers away, serving as a contact sound between birds in flight. So you can, there's a signature sound that their wings make, and it helps them like synchronize their flying, like the Blue Angels. Cygnets are particularly vocal, communicating through various whistles and chirping sounds when they're content. So they'll just be like happy cooing babies, and a harsher chirping noise when they're distressed or lost. They're most territorial during breeding seasons, but mute swans can be protective of their feeding areas and general territory throughout the year. Their territorial nature is an essential part of their behavior. They're famous for being kind of grumpy and aggressive because they live in places where people in cities like to go. Ponds and parks.
That sounds like a them problem.
The people or the
a
pond?
swan problem. There are other lakes.
Well, it is kind of funny because they if the pond is small enough, they'll claim the entire pond. So it's one waterfowl pair in a whole pond. Their territories can be large. A large lake will have multiple swans, obviously, or a medium, not just a pond, but a larger pond or a lake will have multiple swans. But they're aggressive, but they also clash with dogs in London and around England. But if your dog gets out and kills a swan, that's a crime. You could be charged with criminal damage, a wildlife offense, or theft.
What if your swan gets out and kills a dog?
It's all right. No big deal.
We have enough dogs, not enough swans. Any time that there's a new lake when they're designing a like Hyde Park or whatever, they're like this pond, it needs some swans. Let's go find her some swans.
But the mute swans are as fiercely as swans defend their territory. The British government defends their swans because they are associated with the British royalty. So it's like a feather in their cap. I almost said a jewel in their crown.
Both,
but it's something that it's a prized species for the monarchy. So they defend it.
So they defend the swans. The swans defend. Britain defends its swans, and swans defend their little section of Britain.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's good. It's a good like government citizenry relationship.
Yeah. And
I
except
also
for
saw
the
in
common folk, which is
during
the way
their
it always
courtship
is.
dance, they'll push their chests together, and that will force their heads together, which means they make a heart.
That's right.
They are the lovebird.
It's true. You're very loving, except for with everything else.
Yeah, like a pit bull.
Yeah.
It loves you and will kill everything else.
That's exactly right.
All right. Got anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, that's the mute swan. For you out there in Podcastia, stay monogamous. Chase foreigners off your turf and toot your own horn like the mute swan. You're in life, death, and taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
That was an extremely based bit of advice from the Swan. And it's something that England itself is not following at all.